Hey, what is going on, guys? In today's video, I want to have a conversation about the 5 biggest things that you should know coming off of Test 3 and 4 in EZFN Season 4 Beta. Now, I didn't make a video after Test 3 as I just didn't think there was enough changes and new information to give you guys, but now that Test 3 and 4 are complete, I think it's worth having this conversation as we just ran a duos test and there's some new things to discuss. So, we'll talk about first impressions of team modes and a minor bug you should be aware of, some known bugs that are carrying over from the previous test, as well as a new bug I've discovered, some bug fixes, though, that open up more elements of the game, a quick discussion on the state of quality of life improvements and where we are there, and then finally what we can expect for future tests and an update that should be coming. Okay, let's start out with first impressions of team modes. So, EZFN test number 4 ran duos instead of solos, and overall I have to say it worked really, really nicely. It was a lot of fun to play. There is one small bug, however, where if you're reviving your teammate, sometimes you won't see the 10-second timer on your screen. But as long as your character's hand is extended, it should work, as the timer will show up on the person you're being revived screen, as well as they will get revived after the 10 seconds. So just keep that in mind. If you don't see the timer, don't panic too much. It should still work. One thing to keep in mind that's not really a factor in solos, but definitely is a factor in duos, is that if you get isolated from your teammate, it's very easy for the enemy team to take advantage of that. And you can, of course, exploit that if the enemy team is separated. Because there's so little mobility in Season 4, you really can't afford to be across the map from one another unless you're like really, really good at the game and can solo duo reliably, because you just don't have a way of crossing the map quickly. You know, if you watch my Season 7 gameplays, you may see I spread out very far from my teammate in a lot of cases. That's because you can use planes, quad crashers, driftboards, gliders, balloons to get around very quickly and cross back over to your teammate. That's not really possible in Season 4. So if you're across the map from each other, the time for backup is going to be like 5 minutes. So you want to generally stay pretty close to your teammate if you're not feeling super confident at the game, as it's just going to mean you're much less likely to get isolated and you're probably going to have a better time. So just keep that in mind. The second thing I want to talk about is some known bugs. Currently, the supply drop bug that I talked about in the previous video is unfortunately still here, so you're going to have to continue to shoot down supply drops to get their loot. It's not the biggest deal, but just something to keep in mind. And then another bug I've discovered is if you throw all of your C4, you will lose the remote detonator and you won't be able to actually trigger your explosives. So if you're using remote explosives, only throw up to the last one and hold the last one so you have the detonator. That's actually pretty much a pretty massive indirect nerf because you can carry one less C4 effectively. So overall, I'd say C4 is a lot worse because of that, but just definitely keep that in mind. If you throw away your last one, you have no detonator. Let's move on to some bug fixes. The key one I want to talk about is that the llama bug, where you would get supply drop loot from it, appears to be fixed. That's a pretty massive buff to llamas, as instead of getting a gold weapon, which might be really good, you might get a gold scar RPG, which will really help you. You might also get a hand cannon or semi-auto sniper, which is not that great. Now llamas are much better and much more reliable, as you're just getting a huge amount of mats. So they're definitely much more worth it to go for. In terms of the state of quality of life improvements, the big ones we're still looking for is custom bind mod for controller and Siphon. I ran a poll on if you guys think Siphon is worth having in the game. Over 90% of you want it. It is non-historical, and an interesting conversation is right now EZFN Season 4 is pretty much perfectly historical. If you exclude the sprint by default, pretty much everything is 1-to-1. Some people will probably really like that, but I'm of the opinion that we should improve gameplay over being historical, and I think custom binds for controller and Siphon is a good idea to have. We'll see if it comes. I don't know for sure if it will, but we can hope, and if we keep, arguing for it, there's a good chance it'll come in. So we'll see. EZFN devs have proven they're very willing to listen to player feedback, so we'll kind of see where that goes. Finally, I just want to mention what we can expect for future tests. So in terms of the overall game, I have to say it feels pretty close to launching. Honestly, in its current state, I think it would be good enough if it launched in this state. Yes, there are still some bugs, but overall, there's no game-breaking bugs right now that I'm aware of. But I don't think they're going to launch just yet. It sounds like they're doing another test tomorrow. I guess that'll be today when this video releases. So I would say there's probably going to be a few more tests. I don't have a firm date on when it launches, but I feel like we're getting there pretty close, so I would assume it would be relatively soon, but I don't know for sure. Another thing I want to know about future tests is they did announce there should be a small update that should help with FPS issues, as well as getting kicked from the easy anti-cheat. So if you've been having issues with getting kicked out because the anti-cheat detects something even though there's nothing, maybe give it another try with the next test and see if that issue goes away. And with that, I hope this video was helpful, and I will catch you in the next one.